Welcome to the Drone Champions League, the World Championship of professional drone racing teams. And in our World Championship Series for 2025, it's time to bring Stage 2 to a close. It's the DCL Eagle Cup Finals with me, Matt Andrews. So after all the weeks of racing in the Eagle Cup season, it came down to a final between SDT and the Wildcard team for the number 1 seed. SDT won that, the Wildcard team number 2. The 3rd seed was claimed by Raiden Racing, the 4th by Cyclone Racing, who are the reigning world champions, don't forget. So that's how our 4 teams are lining up for today. So let's go for our first match of the Eagle Cup Finals with SDT from Spain against the reigning champions Cyclone Racing from the USA. And we're underway with just Valprim for Cyclone in purple against the 2 pilots from SDT, Silvio and Platt on Air. And it's Silvio in the front, Platt on Air in 3rd, but basically all of them side by side. They'll weave their way towards this dive through the block trade gate, and then we head to the river where we go through this really twisting, tricky part around the bridge. There was a corkscrew, there's the waffle, there's the end of the first lap, and it's Valprim through the Orca gate and the Chinese gate and tower. Afterwards, split S down, we're on board with Platt on Air, who's trying to stay with him as we're on to the middle of lap number 2 now. We've gone over the roofs. You might be realising that this is a really fast track. It's incredibly twisty and very difficult, and these pilots are doing brilliantly on it as the Orca corkscrew and the waffle afterwards is no problem for Valprim, who's still out in the lead. Silvio here trying to catch him through the Chinese gates, now dropped to the split S under the tower and then to the bridge. And as they weave, Valprim is starting to get away. There's almost 1 going on 2 seconds between him and the 2 pilots from SDT, Silvio and Platt on Air. And Silvio in that 2nd place, maybe their best chance of catching him. Here's his view. Oh, he's hit the bar over the top of the exit of the bridge. And as he stumbles through the corkscrew, it's away for Valprim, getting his 7th win in 7 races of the Eagle Cup. 6 wins out of 6 in the regular season, and starting off the finals with another win. What an incredible performance from Valprim. 2nd match then, SDT versus Cyclone. With that win just now for Valprim, he got 4 points from it, but of course the 2 pilots from Spain drone team managed to pick up 5 between them. So now the Ice Cheetah takes on Sally 1 and Red Sheep by himself, and it's Sally 1 with an early lead, Red Sheep and the Ice Cheetah just swapping places between 2nd and 3rd. It's interesting how these lineups have mixed up actually, because when SDT raced Cyclone earlier on in the season, Valprim took on these 2 pilots, and the Ice Cheetah, he raced against the ones we've just seen for SDT. Now Sally 1 is stretching away, coming under the tower on lap number 2, and nice work around the bridge into the courtyard and up and over the rooftops. He's in with a 2-second lead over his teammate, which is young Red Sheep here, the 9-year-old pilot that we're on board with, as he's gone through block trade and made good turns around the bridge. Oh, it's all come undone for Sally 1. What a mess. Red Sheep now out on lap number 3, just starting that on his own with about 2, maybe even 2 and more seconds between him and the Ice Cheetah from Cyclone. And Sally 1, who was way ahead, 1 little mistake on this tight, twisting and pretty short track. Well, actually, it could cost Red Sheep as well, as he's tripped over the block trade gate, but he's still out in the lead. There's barely anything between him and the Ice Cheetah, though. Look, the Ice Cheetah trying to slip past him, inside, outside to the finish. It's Red Sheep by 57 thousandths of a second. Oh, I almost lost it, but in fact, Red Sheep, the 9-year-old superstar of SDT, he's got his first win of the Eagle Cup, and what a time to do it in the finals. So it's now 11 points to 7, SDT with the lead over Cyclone Racing's 2 pilots, but believe it or not, they can actually tie this series if Valprim and the Ice Cheetah come in 1st and 2nd. There's 10 points available for the top 4 pilots. They could work this out. Valprim, can he make it 8 wins out of 8? And can the Ice Cheetah stick with him? Or will 2nd, 3rd, maybe more go to SDT? Well, Valprim got a 1/4 of a second between him and the first of 3 pilots from SDT. Sally 1, who just lost the lead in his earlier race, is a long way behind at the back, which is unusual for him. But that's a little bit of hope for the team in purple. But they've got a lot to do, as the Ice Cheetah, 2.8 seconds behind his teammate, and 3 SDT pilots between the pair of them. We come down through the block trade gate on board with Platon Air, who's a 16-year-old brother of Red Sheep and in second at the moment and trying to catch up with Valprim. There's very few pilots that can. He's managed to pass him as we go on to lap number 3. Great work from young Platon. Now he's just alongside Valprim, who never gives anything up easily. To the rooftops this pair will go. It's the two of them for the win. Nobody else quite close enough at this stage. And the Ice Cheetah has unfortunately gone to the back with that. It looks like Cyclone aren't going to get the win in this matchup, and Valprim just rocking out of there. But he's kept it flying. It's another incredible finish, and this time again SDT just managed to pip Cyclone. Only it's Platon versus Valprim. And Platon Air, what a brilliant challenge all the way to the finish. His 5th win of the season, and Valprim's first race that he hasn't won. That makes it 18 points to 10 for STT. In fact, when they raced earlier on in the season, STT won 17 points to 11. So, slightly more of a victory for the team from Spain. That means in our brackets, they're going to proceed one step closer towards our big Eagle Cup Grand Final, and we'll find out who they're going to race in the semi-finals when we find the winner of our next battle. This one's going to be between the Wildcard team and Raiden Racing, starting off with Gilbert, Danube, IQ0 and Shane. Based on their performances during the season, this could be a really close race, as all of them have scored, on average, about the same number of points in all the battles they've had. An early mistake, though, for Gilbert means he's got a lot of catching up to do, and he's already managed to pass Shane and stays in the battle. The lead is scrapping between Danube and IQ0. Danube, who's this interesting pickup from the Wildcard team. The DCL Wildcard team have always been there to give pilots a chance to showcase what they can do, whereas Danube used to race for STT, who we saw win the last quarter-final. He left them when he decided he was going to leave the DCL, and then to everyone's surprise, was racing for the Wildcard team, which was a big shock to nobody more than STT themselves. Now he's in the lead of this, over IQ0, and Shane Gilbert behind them by some distance. We won't see much from him in the rest of this race, but he'll get his chance in the big heat coming up. IQ0 ahead of Danube, onto the final lap. But when I say ahead, we're talking a tenth of a second or a few hundredths of a second at best. We go on board with IQ0, who is apparently behind Danube, but it's only because they're so tightly close together you can't see one in front of the other, although there's a little bit of a gap towards the end. Oh my gosh, another incredible finish. This one just over 600ths of a second. Danube getting the win over IQ0. Shane third, Gilbert in fourth. It's one of those matchups which ends up 5 points all for the teams, but it's a win for Danube, and that makes it his 5th in the Eagle Cup. Let's see if this second match will be tied up on points as well. It's the Bob and Nemuo against Vicen and Flower Pig. Now we have some names to enjoy here. Vicen Mayans, one of the most famous pilots in the Drone Champions League, pilot out of Spain. Flower Pig, racing from South Korea. That's Lee Min-seo. He is very well known and winning a lot of international races. Over on the Wildcard team, of course, some pilots who are still making a name for themselves. The Bob has surprised so many people. He is 7th on our leaderboard in terms of performances this year, and right up there amongst some incredibly well-known pilots. And he's in 2nd. We're on board with him here, behind who else but Vicen Mayans for Raiden, and tips off the top of a gate and goes to the ground. So that means Flower Pig's in front of him now, as is Nemuo. And Nemuo has been not quiet and not shy for the Wildcard team. He's been stepping up to Vicen here, roaring around this track, though, as we're on to the 3rd lap already. This is Nemuo's view, trying to stay with him, trying to keep with him. Not many pilots can. There's about 1.5 seconds between this man, Vicen Mayans, and the chase from the two pilots from the Wildcard team. Here's the Orca Corkscrew. He's going into the waffle. This is Nemuo in 2nd, and they are nowhere near each other. There's Mayans for 1, Nemuo for 2nd. It is the Bob hanging on to 3rd, and Flower Pig, he's going to be quite low out of the waffle there and coming in 4th. It's another 5 points all. That's what happens if you jump 1st and 4th versus 2nd and 3rd. Vicen Mayans, believe it or not, that's only his 3rd win of all the races he's had in the Eagle Cup so far. That's not like him. And now it's the big heat. All 8 of the pilots flying against each other, 10 points up for grabs and 10 points in the hands of each team so far. So, who's going to get the advantage here? Believe it or not, Raiden lost 23 points to 7 when they faced the Wildcard team earlier on in the season. That was a real shock. It showed that the DCL Wildcard team had come to really fight in this part of our 2025 World Championship season, and Raiden were clearly not the form of the world champions that they used to be, and they won the Falcon Cup earlier in 2025, so they started this year so well. They've also started this big heat pretty well too. It's IQ0 at the front, Vicen Mayans and Flower Pig in those scoring positions. The only one of the wildcard team who seems to be solidly in there at the moment is Danube, but look, it's about a second between all 8 of the pilots, so everything is up for grabs here. Particularly as IQ0 has gone from the lead to the back after going up through the bridge and catching the top of it. Oh, that has totally ruined the race for Raiden, as whereas they had the majority of the scoring positions, there's now a lot of pilots of the wildcard team in front of and behind Vicen Mayans. He's the only one of Raiden picking up any points at the moment. Now he pushes to the lead, tries to stay in front of Danube, but he can't do it all by himself. They need more points than just his. Oh, and the lead won't be his anymore. You see a despondent Vicen Mayans makes a mistake on the waffle right at the end. He's kicking himself for that. But with the rest of the pilots from Raiden outside of the top 4, have to say congratulations to the wildcard team. Danube with the Bob and Gilbert picking up 7 points between them. Danube with another win for himself in the Eagle Cup, and that is going to be another victory over Raiden Racing, this time 17 points to 13 after those first 2 matchups were completely tied up on points. It was that big heat which let the wildcard team run away with it. A closer battle than they had earlier in the season. That means our wildcard team are in another match against SDT. Those 2 teams were scrapping throughout the qualifiers. They're going to be in the semi-final together, but Raiden are going to race again right now against Cyclone Racing. Both these teams lost their respective quarterfinals. If they lose this one, they're eliminated from the Eagle Cup. Valprim against Shane and IQ0 for Raiden, and Shane and IQ0 just had that messy big heat in the very last race we saw, which had Shane come in 6th and IQ0, who was in the lead, end up in 8th place, down at the back. Right now, they're both behind Valprim, who made a mistake just there on the bridge. It looked a little low, but he's so quick on turns like that. However, he's hit the floor, and he has completely disappeared from the racing we're watching. Now, Shane took a very unusual route to the top of the tower and lost a bit of time in doing so, but even that hasn't got him in any danger from Valprim, as it looks like the one and only mistake Valprim has made in an extremely long time turns out to be an absolutely massive one. It's cost him so much time. It'll be very interesting to see if Shane gets a bit of a surprise, who's currently in 2nd. Could Valprim get anywhere near him in the chase? I wouldn't count it out of being possible, as he is closing that gap, but it's such a short track. You've got so little time to make up for mistakes. IQ0 out in front again, coming through block trade now to go up and around this gate, over that bridge, through the corkscrew, one more waffle and a big turn to finish. And IQ0 gets it flown, and Shane ends up pretty close to him. And look at that, Valprim is only 1.5 seconds behind him at the finish, and 1.7 seconds behind the winner. And at times, he was over 5 seconds behind. So great catching up from Valprim, but not enough to beat IQ0 for his win here. I mentioned we saw a pretty despondent Vicen Mayans at the big heat of the last matchup. Well, with Flower Pig alongside him against the Ice Cheetah, he might be feeling a little bit happier. Raiden, 7 points to 2 in the lead. Cyclone only having 2 pilots in these finals. That is proving to be a real problem for them. And with Valprim not getting the win just now, let's see if the Ice Cheetah can do it instead. Through block trade now to this really difficult bridge, under it, over it, and right-hand turn, and he's on top of the bridge and rattling around on the floor. And Vicen Mayans and Flower Pig have both passed him, and there's 4 or so seconds for the Ice Cheetah to try and get anywhere near the points that he needs for keeping Cyclone in contention. Vicen Mayans, though, is spiralling beautifully there. What a great set of rolling turns that was. Down through block trade, Flower Pig just a little bit wider on his route as we're on board with him now. That's where the Ice Cheetah clipped the ground earlier on. We've passed that with no problem for the both of the Raiden pilots. They're on to lap number 3, and Vicen Mayans is getting away. Let's see how smoothly he does this section. A little near the river, you might think, but it's all good for him. There's the 3 gates on the turn. Here's Flower Pig coming into them as well before they go up to the rooftops and then back down through block trade. Just a little wide, just a little bit untidy for Flower Pig. A little bit dangerous in a couple of places, but the Ice Cheetah too far away to take advantage. Vicen Mayan's clearly in, and a good chase on from the Ice Cheetah, but not quite enough, although he did get within half a second of Flower Pig. It's still, though, a 1-2 for Raiden, again led by this man, Vicen Mayans. So here's the big heat with all of the pilots in it. Valprim and the Ice Cheetah, the only ones, of course, for Cyclone, against the other four, all in yellow for Raiden Racing. And everybody flocking together out of the start with a really good reaction time. All of them within 1/10 of a second of each other, and it's still pretty much like that as we get underway in lap number 1. We're on board with Flower Pig right in the middle of this, and this is a true test of concentration now when you know you're amongst a fleet of really fast pilots. So good, so much skill between all of them, and you see them in and out of your peripheral vision. You've really got to focus. Valprim is under a lot of pressure right now, but in front of him, as you can see, can't see any of his opponents. That's because they're all right alongside or just squeezing past, as Shane does there. Now coming down to the block tray gate, under and over and throughout the exit of the bridge. Shane just trying to stretch away from Valprim. Both of them so good on tight turns. Valprim's particularly good on this section coming up. You can see he was just starting to close the gap there, and he just edged in front of Shane for a moment, and on the turns out of that section to the roofs, he's just about hanging on to this lead. Now we go to the roofs again, and that's Shane into the pylon, and there's no time for him to stick with Valprim now, as just a waffle and a turn, and another win for Valprim, and then Shane will come in second, and Flower Pig will take third, and the Ice Cheetah will come in the last of the scoring positions, but that's not going to do anything about the deficit they've got, because while that was bravely fought by the pair from Cyclone, it's a 5-all race, so neither team really benefit from it, but Valprim does get his 8th win in the Eagle Cup, and sadly that is definitely going to be his last one. It's 19 points to 9. Raiden Racing are going to eliminate Cyclone. They're going to be leading the competition in 4th. Raiden Racing, however, they're not done yet. So, the Eagle Cup finals have Raiden still in contention, but next we're going to see who gets the first place in the grand final. The two teams who won their quarters. It's SDT and the Wildcard team. Again, Red Sheep and Sally won against Danube and Gilbert to start off this matchup. Now, why did I say SDT versus the Wildcard team again? Well, because they've had 2 matches in the qualifiers to get to this stage, one in the opening round, and then the final race of the qualifiers was between them. They had a tiebreaker along the way as well. This race, all nice and tight so far. On board with Danube, Red Sheep behind them, Sally 1, just ahead of them. Here's Sally 1's view. As we go on to lap number 2 with all 4 pilots in pretty good close contention here. Gilbert, he's the new British champion. Congratulations, Gilbert. He is just fighting with Red Sheep over that 3rd and 4th place spot. This is Danube's view as he tries to hunt down Sally 1 and get pretty close to him there. Out of these pilots, Sally 1 has had the most wins in the races between these two teams, but Danube, he's capable of getting this one. Look, as we are into the final lap now, through the tower, and the splitters underneath, and Danube pushes forwards, and Gilbert's past Sally 1 too. That is a great bit of flying from the team of the Wildcard pilots in red, down through block trade. Danube keeping that lead. Gilbert is the one behind him in second. He's going to be absolutely delighted as it goes from what could have been a 5 points all draw, to just about a 7-3 win for the Wildcard team, but so nearly was Gilbert surprised by Sally 1. And remember, there's an extra little edge here because Danube used to race for SDT. Second matchup. Platoner and Silvio, his old teammates. Nemo and the Bob, his new teammates. Danube led in the first race to get that 7 points to 3 win. Now let's see if the Wildcard team can capitalise on a big advantage over SDT. With Platoner and Silvio between the Bob and Nemuo. And the Bob, new to the DCL, but has picked up a few wins already, capable of winning more. He's ahead of Platoner and Silvio right now. Platon Air, of course, he fought brilliantly when he was against Cyclone earlier on. Just came in second in one of the races, but then won the big heat, so he likes flying around this track. Where on earth is Nimuro? Over 10 seconds behind everybody else, so the wildcard pilot there really struggling on this track. It's the Bob, though, his teammate, who's out in the lead. Platon Air's within about a quarter of a second of the Bob right in behind him. Silvio is close to. Onto the third and final lap. But look how tight it is now between Platon Air and the Bob. Platon Air just trying to get the lead from him. Silvio has slipped a little bit too far behind. So it's surely going to be between this pilot, the Bob, or Platon Air. The Bob is seemingly really dialed in here. Here comes the bridge. He just saw a flash of Platon Air, knowing he hasn't got completely away from him, and he's weaved his way out of the waterfall. There is Platon Air with an excellent final turn, but still 0.2 of a second behind the Bob. Silvio untroubled in third. There's Nimuro finishing down in fourth. Wow, so close between the top two, and a race that ends up 5 points for each team, but another win for the Bob, and in fact he's now joint second for most wins. Well, can he do it again? Can his teammate Danube get another win? When they last raced, it was 18 points to 12 for SDT. The race before that, the Wildcard team won 16 points to 15. They even had a tiebreaker. Now as they come out of the Chinese tower in Scimitar, let's see if the Wildcard team can hang on to their current lead. Sally1 pushes this race with the Bob in second behind him. Sally1 goes a bit wide there. Oh, the Bob has hit the pylon! And the Bob has gone from third down to seventh. That is a real problem for the Wildcard team, but they've got other very strong players, including Danube, of course, who is in second as we go on to lap number 2, with Platon Air, Silvio, and then his teammate Gilbert behind him. And in fact, he's been completely outflown by Platon Air there, who's gone past him up into second, and Silvio has nearly caught him as well. Yeah, Danube just a little bit slower on some of those turns, and we saw Platon Air's brilliant attacking lines in one of the earlier races. He's definitely saving time around this track as well, and he's going to be confident with Sally1 out in front that the win will be going to somebody on the green team, but it's not over yet. Gilbert, though, has managed to get past his own teammate Danube, and usually Danube would be the quicker of those two. Now Gilbert in third, Danube in fourth. They're keeping Silvio out of the points for now, but it's not going to be enough for the Wildcard team if it ends like this, and we're into the final Orca corkscrew in the waffle with Sally1 into the finish gate, and then Platon Air. Oh, and it is Danube and Gilbert just ahead of Silvio. And what's really exciting here is with the first and second for SDT, they've actually cancelled out the lead of the Wildcard team. So this race is won by Sally1, and we got a tiebreaker again. 15 points all with the teams. This time it's winner takes it all. We don't worry about the points for second, third and fourth. It's just the winner of the race takes their team as the first ones with a hand on a grand final spot. And Danube leading at the moment, and remember he's against his old team here as well. Now Sally1 went wide here last time. This time it's Platon Air who took a wider route to the pylon, but everybody around it and coming back up to the bridge. It's Platon Air who's in the lead through the corkscrew, just bouncing through the top of it, just clipped the underside of the top of the Orca corkscrew. That's a lucky bounce. It means he carried on through, didn't have to go around and refly it, which is why he's still jostling around the front of this race and trying to stretch away now from the Bob. And Danube will go on board with the second place pilot, the Bob. Can he get another win? Oh, into the block tray gate, but still in third. He had a bit of room to spare because that was quite a big bounce. Now he's got a lot of catching up to do as he's about 1.5 seconds behind the leader, which is Platon Air right now. Danube in second, and the Bob. If this was a normal race, these top 4 positions would cancel each other out with 5 points per team, but it doesn't matter. This is winner takes all, and surely now Danube is out of contention for that. It looks like the young 16-year-old brilliant confident pilot Platon Air gets the win for SDT, and with that takes his team to the grand final of the Eagle Cup. The Bob, Danube, then his younger brother Red Sheep is the one who came in fourth. Such a wonderful pair of brothers, and so good for SDT. So Platon Air gets another win. That makes him now tied for second on wins, but actually the highest scorer of points of everybody in the DCL's Eagle Cup so far. SDT will be pleased to get a win over the Wildcard team, and More significantly, congratulations, as SDT are the first team into the Eagle Cup Grand Final. Their opponent will be the winner of this match. They were seeded second and third respectively, that's why they met each other earlier, and they're back again for the final chance to get into the Grand Final. The Wildcard team against Raiden. Last time these four pilots raced, Danube won with IQ 0 second, then Shane, then Gilbert. Now Raiden's pilots, first and second off of the start, are on board with IQ 0, who's behind his teammate Shane. Danube and Gilbert ready to surprise me if they get the opportunity. Shane here to the bridge. That was extremely tight. That's pretty impressive by Shane, and I know he's very good at very tight corners and split S's and the like. IQ 0, right with him, alongside him, trying to switch places with him, and maybe does. It's still Raiden in the 1-2, with Shane now in front of him again. Look at the lines there, IQ 0 just maybe going a little bit deeper than Shane did, but working it out. Pilots flying to their preferences and taking corners the way they are most comfortable with that. Shane, IQ 0, Danube, just starting to get a little bit closer, just a little hundredth of a second here or there means he's jostling up now, trying to get up into second, if not first. Gilbert still not too far behind, about a quarter of a second between all four of these pilots with 1 lap to go. Down through block trade, Danube hanging on, trying to keep this win. This is IQ 0's view, trying to catch him. Shane has gone to the back as Gilbert has moved up past him and to the finish. It is Danube and then IQ 0, and Gilbert beats out Shane. Less than half a second between all of them. Gilbert moving on Shane got an extra point for the wildcard team, and Danube, of course, got 4 up front. Now the second match, and 5 out of 6 of the races between DCL Wildcard team and Raiden Racing, they've been won by either Danube or the Bob. And we've just seen Danube win his, so is the Bob going to take another one for them? There's so much pressure on these young pilots, with the spot in the Eagle Cup Grand Final just ahead. This is Flower Pig, who's in second, chasing the Bob. Oh, he's got caught on the roof! He'd managed to go around the pylon, but he'd gone a little bit too low, so he's tripped over the roof apex. So that looks like his chase is done, and it's going to come down to Vicen Mayans. But if you're going to put your faith in anybody trying to catch someone, how many times have I praised him? Not just this year, but many years. The best finisher in the DCL. Can he get the Bob? Trying to turn inside him here, underneath him, slipping past him at the block trade gate, and does so just about. Down through the bridge, the Bob takes the lead back as they both go through the Orca corkscrew, and the Bob carries on just in front of him with 1 lap to go. Look at that, look how tight it is. Through the Chinese town, split S underneath the Bob and Vicen Mayans. Now they weave back towards the gates, up through and down through the 2 arches. Now the 3 gates. Now coming back on this twisting 180 degree and then another 180 degree turn before you go through block trade to the Orca corkscrew. It's Vicen Mayans in the lead. Coming out of the waffle, it's still he's in the lead, and the Bob makes a better turn at the end, and he can't believe it. Vicen is stunned, and the Bob is celebrating as he's done something that Vicen has done to so many other pilots. He's stolen the win on the final turn, and just 1/100th of a second was all that separated them. Nomuro and Flower Pig far behind, but the one in front, it's the Bob! Big heat time, all 8 pilots and a spot in the Eagle Cup Grand Final to the team who wins. The wildcard team into this with a 12 points to 8 advantage at the moment. And the Eagle Cup Final, the winner of that gets the most points, of course, out of the Eagle Cup. And that is one of the 3 cups that makes up the DCL World Championship Series for 2025. Raiden were the winners of the Falcon Cup. They were surely expecting to make the Grand Final of the Eagle Cup as well. 6 of these 8 pilots are in our top 10 for wins in the Eagle Cup, but Danube and the Bob of the wildcard team, they're the ones in joint second ahead of all of the Raiden pilots. So the Raiden pilots are doing a great job fighting for their survival in this. Raiden has to win this race and get a few more points as well. And it is Shane, Vicen Mayans and IQ 0 for Raiden who are in the top 3 as we're coming up to the end of the second lap and starting the third. But the Bob moves through as IQ 0 goes a little bit backwards. And now the Bob is trying to hunt down Vicen Mayans again. Shane wants to hang on to the lead. The Bob moves up into second. We're getting very, very tight here. All of the wildcard pilots now from 3rd to 6th. Shane and Vicen Mayans, if it's down to just the 2 of them, they have to come 1st and 2nd, and then we'll go to a tiebreaker race, and they got the win, but not the other one! The Bob hangs on to 2nd, Vicen Mayans is 3rd, If Raiden got a pilot in 4th place, they'd have got 7 points, but instead Gilbert is there. Flower Pig and IQ Zero come in behind Nemuo, and Danube, unlike him, way behind at the back. Shane with another win. He did the best he could, and the Bob with about 1/10 of a second ahead of Semans. Well, it's a win for Shane, but not enough for Raiden, because it's 16 points to 14. That means the wildcard team, congratulations, they've got another win over the former 2-time world champions. Those former champions, well, after the Falcon Cup, they were in great shape to try and regain their title, but they're out in 3rd of the Eagle Cup, and it's a grand final between SDT and the wildcard team. Of course, it should be this. They are the teams who qualified for the Eagle Cup finals in 1st and 2nd seed, so they should be battling for the title. They got to the grand final. Congratulations again to both of these teams and all of these pilots, and there's going to be 5 races beginning with this one. Gilbert, this would be a great statement from him if he could go out and lead his team in the first of the races. He's not been scoring as many points as he would have liked to have been doing in the races so far. He's now in the middle of the action here. It is Sally1 and Danube who are a little bit more used to leading their way around our track here in Simtai in China. Sally1, then Danube, Gilbert and Red Sheep, half a second from 1st to 4th. Under the bridge, and then this really tight, difficult turn as you climb up as well. That's a really challenging move around the bridge. This is Gilbert's view as he comes to start the final lap, 1/4 of a second behind Sally1. Good flying from him there through the top of the Chinese tower and amongst all those poles which could try and trip you up. Over the rooftops, it's Sally1 and Gilbert now as they're coming to this block trade section down back towards the river. Big gap between these two pilots and any of the others. Gilbert running out of time. Can he just get on the inside of Sally1? He was close there, but it's going to be about 1/4 of a second between them. What about 3rd? It's going to be Red Sheep roaring with delight. He beats out Danube by about 1/10 of a second, and that gets a really important just nudge for SDT. Most of the points, of course, thanks to Sally1 there. But Red Sheep made it 6-4, not 5-all. What can his brother Platonair do? And Silvio, now he's the captain of SDT, and he's only got 1 win in the entire Eagle Cup season to this point. So it is time for Silvio to lead his team, you would hope. Oh, Platonair, gone up when he should have gone forwards. He's lost tons of time due to that mistake. And that means it's Silvio with the Bob and Nemuo in front or them behind, or him splitting between them as they go on to lap number 2. Really tight between the 3 of these. Platonair with a lot of catching up to do, as I say. Silvio, then the Bob to this section where we've seen the Bob challenging so well in earlier races. Here's the rooftop turn and down through block trade. That was excellent work by Silvio. And now he is starting to try and get away through the Orca Corkscrew and the Waffle here, heading towards the start of lap number 3. Just put 1/10 of time between himself and the Bob. That's absolutely nothing, of course. Really small, but small differences and smaller than 1/10 of a second, as you've seen. That's the sort of things we work with in drone racing, but the Bob is needing to just dial this in a little tighter, as it's very slowly getting away from him, and he knew it, and he tried, and instead it's all come apart. Silvio gets another win, about time too. The Bob is second, Platonair will get third like Red Sheep did just now, his brother. It's another 6 points to 4 win over the Bob and Nemuo, with SDT getting the most of them, and it's because Silvio got to the front and stayed there. Now we're going to have the first of our big heats, because in the grand final, as I said, it's 5 races. So we're going to have a big heat with all 8 pilots now, and 2 more of them as well. Starting this one with a 12-point straight lead for SDT and the wildcard team in the front. And everybody mixed up very tightly with half a second between all of them. It's Danube, the Bob, Sally1 between them, mixing it up. Platonair not far away. Danube hits the hurdle that you have to duck under as you come out of the bridge. Oh, that's knocked him out of second. Every time the wildcard team have won, it's been either Danube or the Bob So it's going to have to be the Bob, it seems, to try and get past Platon Air, whereas Sally One, who we're on board with, is cleanly whipping his way around Simitai. Platon Air, though, this young pilot, sticking with him again, like we saw in one of these very first races today. And if anything, he's closer to Sally One than he was. Now out of the Fox Ear section at the start of lap number 3 and through the Chinese tower, it's Sally One, Platon Air, the Bob sticking with them, Silvio just behind him, but having been 12 points to 8 down, this is not what the wildcard team want to happen in the first of the big heats. Oh, and a rare mistake for Platon Air. That gives the Bob a chance to get up to second, but I think first is going to be too much for him. It's Sally One who wins, the Bob is second, and Danube doesn't get fourth because he's gone around again. Oh, what an enormous mistake by Danube! He might have beaten Platon Air to 4th place, but he started a 4th lap. The all-important 4 points, though. They are Sally One's again. That's 2 wins in 3 races for him in this grand final. Now we'll go again in race number 4. And with a 19 points to 11 lead, SDT are looking very comfortable to get their first ever cup title. They have never, in all of their years of the DCL, never won. This could be it. Sally One trying to lead the team in green to that title. But the wildcard team, if they're going to stop them, it's got to be happening in this race and the final one. And 8 points behind, that's a lot to change. Now Danube pushes his way to the lead. Danube, who used to race alongside Silvio on STT, now Danube, who's not racing for that team anymore. Can he be the one to keep them waiting and hungry a little bit longer? Sally One, Platon Air, scrapping with him for the lead, and now we're getting into this familiar 1-2 as Sally One just ahead of Platon Air and taking over. It's Gilbert in second, it's the Bob in 4th for the wildcard team. Platon Air between them, Sally One still ahead of all of them. 1 lap to go, now coming to the rooftops, through the hoops and back down again, through the 3 DCL gates, that difficult section, which then leads to another one as well as you go through block trade in these 180 degrees, and then one of the most savage kind of reverse split S bridge turns I've ever seen. Sally One, Platon Air 1 and 2, Gilbert just got caught on that bridge, means he's 3rd, Nemuo gets a point in 4th ahead of the Bob and Danube. Then it's Silvio, and then it's Red Sheep. And the DCL wildcard team are putting in the best performance that any of our wildcard teams have ever done, but Sally One keeps beating them. Our final race of this best of 5, the big heat, the Eagle Cup grand final between Spain Drone Team and the wildcards. Underway with Red Sheep out in front. Sally One, well, we've seen him there a few times, haven't we? Silvio, Platon Air, these pilots for SDT are about to do something they have wanted to do for so long. SDT, Spain Drone Team. They first joined the DCL back in 2018 as a wildcard team themselves, back when we gave local pilots a chance to attend our races and show the professional teams what they could do. We raced in Madrid, in Leventas, a world-famous historic bull ring, no less, where we had our drone race. That's where we met a few of the Spanish pilots, and then over the years, SDT had another chance to appear at one of our races before they became a full-time professional team and then one of the permanent teams in the Drone Champions League. And they have never won anything of this magnitude. They've never won a cup. They've never won any of our split seasons. They haven't been anywhere close to winning the World Championship title, to be honest. But right now, coming to the finish line, at last, we can finally say the champions, they're Spain Drone Team! Oh, congratulations to them, and we must highlight Sally won 4 wins out of 5 races in the grand final. And let's remember that during this entire Eagle Cup finals, all 4 of their pilots have got at least 1 win, a real team. Wow, the champions, and deservedly so. And it's been a long time coming for them, as I said, so I know many people will be pleased for the pilots and also for Juan and Salva running SDT. 10 points for winning the Eagle Cup. means they're joint leaders of the season so far for 2025 as we move on towards the Hawk Cup, the next stage of our World Championship battle. So Raiden and SDT currently leading the others. Congratulations again to SDT for winning the Eagle Cup. I'm Matt Andrews. Join us for the next time we will see you in the skies.